Well, I don't typically start off videos by talking about the news, but based on some of the news that we've been hearing recently, I think it's safe to say that, well, hopefully, fingers crossed, Mother's Day will be business as usual this year. And just so happens that we're working on some Mother's Day gifts, and of course, well, they can always be adapted to other things. And one project in particular, not in this video, but there is one that can be used for many different things. But today we're going to put together our Sweet Pea and Treats box. It's a little chocolate box, and you can take the little slice forms out, and if you don't want to use those, you can put a little gift inside, but we made it so that you can use it for little chocolates. So it does feature a new flower, which we will put together, but we'll do that here in a little bit. We're going to put together the actual box first, since it's nice and quick and easy. So let's just jump right in here. This is the main part of the top of the box. And as usual, I do like to work flat whenever possible. So we're going to begin by putting, we're going to put this piece on first. And you'll notice that there are some little cutouts, not cutouts, but little markers here to help you with the placement of this piece. Because down here at the bottom, we're going to have a little band there. Not like the Beatles kind of band, but a decorative paper band. And, well, we want to make sure that this is positioned correctly so that the band fits on there. So we'll go ahead and just get our glue on this panel here and get this glued into place. Now, I did do a good amount of inking in this project, and I'll discuss where and how once we get to that point. Okay, so again, with this piece here, you just want to match it up with the little markers there on your white piece here. Just make sure that you get it nice and centered and press that down. And you'll notice that I did, in this purple piece, hit it with a little bit of purple ink. So depending on what type of paper you have, if it calls for inking, I would definitely ink it. Okay. All right, so that is that. And while we have this flat, we do have a piece of acetate that we're going to put on here just so that you can kind of see through it. So we're going to glue that down, and I'm just simply going to put some glue around the perimeter of this heart. Oops. Just like that. And just make sure that you get it nice and centered so that you're completely covering up the little cutout. And just press that into place. Maybe push that glue out the other way. If you got too much glue like I did, that should be fine. Okay, so you can see how nice that looks. And then there is an additional piece that is going to go in here to cover up this little acetate piece and just to kind of clean this up. Okay, so we can actually, let me double check this real quick here. Yeah, we can put glue on this entire piece here just to make sure that every little inch of this is sitting nice and flat. And try to get that glue out to the edges as well so that it doesn't come peeling off when your recipient, your mom, gets this beautiful little project filled with her favorite little chocolates or whatever you want to fill it with. Okay. And you want to just make sure that you get it nice and centered around the heart with a little bit of a border around it, and that it also is falling within the perimeter of the little score mark areas. Okay. And just press that down into place. Let's take a look at that. That looks good. Okay. All right, so that is that. And then all we need to do is just put the box together. That little band that I was talking about, we'll put that in place after the actual lid is constructed. So to construct the lid, let's get our glue on one of these tabs here. Just start one at a time. I'm going to smooth that glue out. I just put a new tip on my glue bottle, and it's really running out pretty fast. Okay, so we're going to tuck that tab behind this piece here, line it up, and press and hold that in place for a moment, let it set. You can also, if you want, put that down on your table and push down like this. That didn't really grab yet, so when I did that, it kind of moved. Just be careful. Make sure you get it nice and lined up. Okay, so we just got it pretty much joined like that, and then we'll just work our way around and get the rest of the tabs glued down. I need to go a little bit easier on the glue here so that it just goes a lot quicker for me. Okay, so we're going to bring that down, get that connected to the tab, and press and hold that in place until it sets. Okay. And while I'm doing this, I do want to mention, you'll notice here that we have the caption Mom, but know that we have an optional Mum as well that is included for our friends across the pond. Okay, so next one here, get our glue on the tab, and same thing, just bring that back, tuck it behind this section here, line it up, and give that a press. Just like that. And that just leaves one more tab here. You could probably push that out of the way a little bit. Get your glue on there. I'm going to paint that with my finger, make it nice and thin. And just get that connected. Line it up nicely, press and hold until it sets. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so there is the beginning of our little lid. And as I mentioned, we do have a little band that goes on this. It's made up of these two pieces, and you'll notice that this piece, actually both pieces, have a series of score marks. So you want to fold at the score mark. Okay, and that is literally going to go right up to the very bottom, and it should pretty much fit like a little puzzle piece and be nice and flush with this layer here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to put glue on the center of this, so within the score mark area, and then we'll do the two outer little folds after we get this in place correctly, so that we don't try to do too much all at once. Okay, I'll just slide that right in there. It should be flush with the side and pretty much butting up to the little purple piece that we have there. I'm going to flip that upside down so I can press down on it. And that should be in place. And then we can fold this over, get our glue, and then we'll just close that up. Or not close it up, just fold it over and glue it down. Again, just make sure that it's nice and flush here. There we go. And there we go. Okay. And then of course, we've got a little overlay piece. It's going to go on top of that to bring out a little bit more of that purple. So you want to just fold at that score mark. And when you're folding it, fold it on top of itself. Sometimes with that score mark, it wants to go off a little bit to the side. Just bring it right back and fold it right there on top of itself. Okay, and just like we did with the first little strip, we're going to put our glue on just the center part of this, leaving the little outer sections alone for now, just like that. And we're going to do our best to just center this onto this piece. I would maybe just put down one side, make sure it's nice and centered, and then put down the other side, and then just run your finger across the center there. And that's pretty much what we're going after here. Okay. And then just like we did the first time, just throw a little bit of glue on these little flaps here. Make sure you get some glue out to the very edge and that you are getting it nice and centered on that piece. And that should fit perfectly. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. And fold that over. It should pretty much center itself. As long as you've got it folded accurately, it should pretty much center itself. Okay, so there's the majority of the lid. And we can put our little caption on here. We've got the shadow layer of our mom, and then we've got the actual mom. Now you can always adapt this box. With your software, you could cut out anybody's name, create a little shadow layer, and you could even do uncle or grandma or whatever you want. This one, we're including the mom version, but if you're even just partially savvy with your cutting software, I'm sure you could adapt this to pretty much any occasion or any person's name or any sort of person in your family. Okay, there we go. And this we're actually going to pop dot this right about here, okay? And we can do that now or we can do it later. I guess it really doesn't matter. Let me grab my foam squares and we'll just get her done. So I'm gonna throw a foam square here. I'm trying to get it kind of out of the way so it's not very visible. And honestly, I think these two will do the trick. I don't know if we need to put any more than that on there. And just about make sure that the O is nice and centered. Bring it up slightly above where you have the center of the bottom of the heart. I'll pop it right about there. Okay. So that is that minus the little sweet pea flowers that we're going to put together. We're going to put those together last. I'm going to put that off to the side for now. And let's just put the bottom of the box together, which is very simple. It's essentially a duplicate of the lid. So we are pros at doing that now. We'll start by just putting a little bit of glue on one of these tabs here. Okay, and then we're going to bring it in, tuck it behind this little section here, this little lip. Line it up nicely and press that down. Get that into place just like that. Moving on to our next tab. Okay. There we go. Tuck that behind, line it up, and be patient while it sets. And there we go. And just a couple more. I'm going to move this out of the way. A little bit of glue on the tab. I'm spreading it out to the very edge just so that everything looks nice and crisp. Get that lined up and press it into place. There we go. And the last one, nice and easy. Spread that out, line it up, and give that a press. Okay, I'm gonna use my table to really push that down and get it in there. Okay, so that is the container. Now this little piece here, this is just kind of a liner that's going to go inside to just kind of strengthen the base of this. I'm going to go very easy on the glue here. Don't need a lot. I'll just pop that in. And now again, if you want to use it like this, you can, but we have included a slice form little insert to, well, separate the chocolates out. So you've got 3 larger ones and 4 smaller ones. And basically what you want to do is just take the smaller ones and just start connecting them, just sliding the little notch on one of them onto the notch on the larger one. Okay, and then you can take another of these larger ones and slide it in like that. Okay, then we'll take this one and slide it into the last slot. Okay, so we have that kind of shape, and then we'll just take the rest of these and just slide them all down onto the little notches there, and just push that down until it's completely nice and flat. The rest of these should go on pretty easy because it's kind of holding on to its shape at this point. Like that. No glue required. I don't think you really want to put glue on this anyway because you're going to have some food in here. Even though it's dry, you never know. Okay, and then that should fit in there nicely. It does. Keep your chocolates nice and separated. Okay, and then our lid should fit on here flawlessly. Okay, so there's our beautiful box, but we've got some beautiful flowers that we're going to add to this to really complete it. Obviously, you could make it just like this, but I'm going to show you these little sweet peas that I've been working on here. And we're just going to kind of put them together like this, and I'll show you how that all works. So I already made 2 of these off camera just so I could get some practice, and I'm going to show you how to put one of them together. If you need to, you can always stop and rewind for the rest of them. But essentially, each flower is going to be made up of these 3 petals. Okay, just want to make sure that's in focus for you. Okay, and then so far on each of these flowers that I've created here, I've only put 1 leaf on them, and that's fine. For this one, I'm going to put 2, and then the rest of these, so you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves like this, okay? You can put 2 on any of these. It doesn't matter which one you put 2 on. One of these you can put 2 on. The rest of them just do 1. And whatever's left over, we're going to put together, we're going to use once we kind of stitch all these together or tape all these together. I'll show you what that's going to look like once we get there. But essentially, oh, forgot about the calyx. Each of the 3 flowers is going to have a large petal, middle-sized petal, small petal, 1 or 2 leaves, and a calyx. Okay, and then we've also made some little tendrils. I'll show you how I made those as well. It's very simple. Okay, so we're going to start off with a, well, this is a paper wrapped floral stem. And this one here, this large one, this is way larger than it needs to be, but it's better to have more than less. I'm going to start off with about 8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off at about 8 inches. Okay, and of course, we're going to begin by wrapping the entire stem, and I'm using some light green floral tape. Now you can see here that I've done some inking on these. It's optional, definitely recommended. If you've never inked before, head over to our website under the help section, and under craft tips, I have an inking tutorial where I show you various methods of inking flowers, and it's pretty much the same process. I use the same process for all my flowers. So if you want to ink, I highly recommend it. Okay, so all I did was I took this floral tape, I stretched it out to reveal some of the tackiness, and just simply wrapped it around the floral wire, okay, all the way down. Now, with the sweet peas, one of the features of this flower is this little pea-shaped kind of nub right at the top where the stamen is. I guess it is considered the stamen. So what we're going to do to kind of create that effect is we're going to wrap our tape kind of up and down just that section to almost create what looks like a little Q-tip. Okay, so we're just going to go up and down to just put way more tape right up at the top, so it kind of looks like and forms like a little Q-tip shape. Okay, and then you can definitely take your finger and shape it once all said and done to make it look a little more like a Q-tip shape. Okay, it's optional, but it definitely makes it more true to life. Okay, so you can see the difference here. Let me just do this real quick so you can see the difference between one that has that little nub on there and one that doesn't. Let me bring this tape down more, 1 second. Okay, so you can see the difference in the two. Let me put this on a different color. Okay, so you can see how it's, you know, a little more Q-tip shaped. Okay, so once we have that, what we want to do is we're going to do a little bit of curling and training on the flower elements here. And this large petal is probably the one that, well, you're going to want to take a little extra time on. And I'm going to grab some of my inks now, and I'll show you here what I did with the inking. So with this one here, I literally just took my pink and I just hit the edges with my little felt applicator pad. I believe this is just standard felt that you can get at like a, you know, like Joann Fabric. You can cut it into little rectangles like this. These are actually made by Ranger. They're pre-cut, so I don't really need to do anything. And then what I realized was for this one, it's not as important, but for these guys here, because we're going to be curling these inward, it may be a good idea to ink both sides of this, because when you go to curl this, you're going to actually see the back of this as well. So I would recommend kind of inking both sides of these petals as well as this one here. And I don't remember if I did the leaves on both sides. I don't think I did the leaves on both sides, but I did do the calyx on both sides. So you can see how quick and easy the inking process is. It's really just a very repetitive motion. Again, I get into more details on some of the other projects as to how to do this. And if you're looking for these exact supplies on your iOS device, your iPhone or your iPad, go to the App Store and download the Dreaming Tree app. I have a supply list there. And if you have an Android, go to Google Play. You can download it there. Okay. And it'll take you right to Amazon where you can get the exact tools that we're using. So for this one here, what we're going to do, if you kind of just draw an imaginary line right through the center of it, what we're going to do is we're going to create a crease just up to that point there. We're just going to kind of using a dowel, just kind of creasing it up to about the center of it. I don't want to go any higher than the center. Okay. Okay, now that we've worked the paper out that way, we're going to do the opposite now. We're going to create the crease going this way. And we did it that way the first time just to loosen up the fibers a little bit. So now I'm kind of just creasing it right through the center. And now I'm going to just kind of really not pinch it too hard, just pinch it more, just to kind of really create a nice defined crease there. Because ultimately what we want to do is maintain the crease up to about this part here, but then take the top of this, and then once you have that crease, you kind of want to hold it a little bit. And I'm taking the top of the petal, placing it between my finger and a dowel, while I'm holding this to make sure that it stays creased. And I'm going to pull this back, kind of like you're just curling your hair. And I'm going to pull that back. We've got to be careful here so you don't tear anything. Okay, but essentially what we're trying to do is just create like a little cup, like a cupped effect, like that. Okay, and I'm going to bring this down more. It's a really strange shape. And if you can't get it, don't worry about it too much, because it is, it's something that's a little bit different. And I'm also going to take these petals here, and I'm going to pull those back. So it's kind of like this whole thing all the way around is like drooping. The tips of the petals are all kind of just drooping downward. Okay. And essentially what you're looking to get here, and see, I think just naturally it wants to wants to crease all the way up to the top, but we don't want that. We're going to kind of hold that down so that the crease kind of stops in the center there. Okay, I got a nice little ladybug over here. Cool. You don't want to be in this video right now. These are not real flowers, lady. Okay. And see how we've got this almost created like this little divot in there. Okay, that's kind of what we're looking for. Just be very gentle with the petals while you try to shape it like that, so that you don't go tearing your paper. Okay, but essentially this is what we're kind of looking for. So it's like up to about halfway, you can see the crease, and then the rest of it folds over. Just practice, and if you can't get it, even if it isn't this shape, it's still going to be very pretty. But I mean, you can definitely do it. You just have to kind of play with the paper a little bit, and you have to be gentle with it, otherwise it will rip. Okay, so just go easy on it. And now that little divot there is kind of like the perfect little divot to fit the rest of the petals here. And I'm going to hit this with a little bit of green here on the back. As you can see, as far as the inking goes and the shading, it's pretty much just a repetitive motion all the way around. Okay, so I know it looks a little different than what you're used to when it comes to making these flowers, but you'll see how everything kind of comes together. So the second largest petal, all we're going to do with that, I'm going to grab a pretty thin dowel. This is, I think, less than 1/4 inch. Yeah. And just grab the two sides, and we're going to, towards the upper half, grab that, pinch it between a dowel, and just kind of curl it in, just like that. Do the same thing to the other side. Just curl that in. You can curl it in nice and tight if you want, because it's gonna unravel a little bit, just naturally. So it's okay to give it a little bit of an extra curl. But essentially, we're looking for a shape similar to this, and you can see here why I added a little bit of ink to both sides, because when you curl it in, you can see the underside of the cardstock. Now with this really small one, I'm going to take that, and I am literally just going to kind of roll it around completely. Okay, so that we're really cupping it completely, and then I'm going to give it a little bit of a pinch at the top, not all the way down, just kind of right up at the top. Okay, just so it looks like it's kind of just opening up ever so slightly, just like that. Okay, and now we can go ahead and start putting this into place on our floral stem. So what I'll do is I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on the very bottom here, these two little teeth. And we want this little P to be sticking up a little bit. Okay, you want that to be pretty much, you can see where the little teeth end and where the petal begins. You want the little P to just begin pretty much right where the flower begins. Okay, so we're going to position it just like so. Okay, and we can cup this a little bit more later on. We can always fluff things up and shape things later on. Okay, so that's how we want that to look. And then we're going to take and put a little bit of glue on the bottom of this petal, the second largest one. Just a very thin amount. And we're going to slide that right in there, so it looks just about like that. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to take shape, roughly where everything is positioned. Okay, and then we'll take the last little petal here, and you can see how we've got that little divot in there, and that's totally fine, because we're just going to end up placing this right about there. This is kind of a little skewed. Let me fix that. There we go. And we'll just throw a little bit of glue right at the base of our flower here. And this just kind of helps keep everything in place just before we use our floral tape to really make it permanent. Okay, so you see how that is starting to look. Okay, and we can give that, while we're holding this in place, letting the glue partially set, We can give this a little bit of a squeeze. Okay, and there we go. So it's pretty straightforward. Okay. So that is pretty much it. And then we're going to take our floral tape and we're going to tape this down. Okay, so grab your floral tape, just stretch it out a little bit, and just begin taping this down. And this will make it all nice and permanent. Just wrap, oops. Let me tear some of this off. It's not as tacky as it was because it was sitting out. Okay, so pretty much right where all three of those sections begin to turn into the actual petals and not just the little bases. Just start wrapping that around to get it to really hold. I'm going to tear that off real quick and take a look at it, make sure that everything is sitting correctly, and yeah, that looks good. Okay, so that's that. Now we've got this little calyx piece here, and what we want to do is just fold everything at the little score marks. Okay, and we'll put a little bit of glue on this little section here that doesn't have a little leaf on it. And we're going to glue that to the inside of one of the little leaf sections. You can actually put that down flat. Just flatten it out while it dries to create this sort of shape. Okay, and then we can take a nice thin dowel and literally just curl the little leaves back to create a nice little calyx. And if you want, I didn't do this beforehand on this one, but you can hit this with a little bit of ink as well. And that one's actually, let me get something a little bit darker. There we go. Just to make it look a little more natural instead of just making it look like cardstock. Throw a little color on there. That's fine. Okay. Now you can put glue on this if you want, because there's so much floral tape on here, and because we're going to tape this again, I'm not even worried about it. We're just going to slide this up, bring it up as high as it'll go. You can hear how windy it is out there. If you need to nudge some things around just to kind of straighten things up, you can. Bring that up as far as it'll go, and then we're going to take our floral tape and we're going to tape that down. I didn't even need to use any glue on that. There's plenty of tacky on there. I'm going to go up a little bit, and then I'm going to come down. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the actual flower part of it. Let me bring these down a little bit to showcase that little P in there. Okay, so there you have it. We've got three of them. Same thing. I did the same thing for all of them. And once it's all in place, you can certainly take and kind of train the very edges a little more to give those a little bit more of a droop. Okay, but essentially that's what you're looking for, sort of that kind of look. Okay, now again, as I mentioned, now with these first two, I just did one leaf. Okay, for this one here, I'm going to put 2 leaves on it so I can show you the leaf process twice. So we'll take 2 of our leaves here. Let me move these inks out of here before we get in trouble. And I'm just going to take a dowel and just train the leaves back like that, just to give them a little bit of curve. I'll do that to both of these. Okay, and let's grab our flower. Let me see here. So this one with the 2, I'm going to take and just throw a little bit of glue on the base of this so that it sticks and stays in place for me. And we're going to pop it roughly just below where the calyx ends for the first one. Just hold that in place, let that glue do its job to kind of stay put for you. Make sure that it's nice and aligned straight up and down. Okay, we'll get our first leaf taped into place. And then with the next one, we're just going to go down about an inch or two. Now for the other two flowers, you just have to do the one leaf. But for this one, we're going to do two. So you can see the first one there. And I'll take the second one, kind of stagger it maybe right about here. Let me get some glue on the base of it, like that. And we're going to pop it on right about here. There we go, right about there. That looks nice. And we'll just hold that in place for a few seconds. Let that glue semi-set, just so that it's easier to tape. Okay, and we're just gonna start taping this. There we go. We'll tape that down. Okay, now, again, at this point, you've made, well, you're going to make two more flowers. And that's going to leave you with two extra leaves, which I'll show you what we're going to do with those in just a moment. Now the tendrils, let me show you how I made those. I just took some floral wire. This is not wrapped, okay, and literally just took and wrapped it with some floral tape so that everything is like the same color and almost the same texture too. Just like we did with the paper wrapped floral tape. I don't know why I just did that. We're just going to wrap that around this entire little piece of floral wire. I think my fingers are just getting really sticky here. There we go. Just wrap it all the way around, all the way down. And then I'm going to take this and literally just wrap it around a pencil or a pen or whatever you want to use to kind of create the tendril effect. And I should get about 2 good tendrils out of this. You can make as many as you want. It's up to you. Okay, so just working our way all the way down. Again, I'm going to cut this in half and probably make 2 separate little tendrils for it. I don't think I attached a tendril to one of them. Let me see how we have this here. Yeah, I think on our prototype we only have maybe 2. Yeah, there's only 2 tendrils on it. So that should be fine. You can always do 3. You can add more if you want. Okay, so we've got this nice floral wire wrapped with floral tape. That's that. Okay, I'm going to cut this in half. Let me fold it so I get it right. Okay. And then just find yourself, you could do it on a dowel too, actually, since we have our dowels here. Just take it and just start wrapping it around the dowel, like so. And then you can pull it off and just kind of pull it apart to create the little tendrils. Okay. And then, well, that one is kind of, I don't know if that one's too long. I think it's fine. If you think it's too long, you can always just kind of trim a little bit, straighten out one little section of it, because what we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the actual flower here. So find a little spot for it. I'm going to put mine right about there. And I'll grab my floral tape, stretch it out, and we're going to attach it to the actual flower. And that can always be adjusted after the fact as well. Okay, so there we have that with our beautiful little tendril on there. Okay, and well, let me stick that out more. Either way, however many you want to do is fine. You can always add more after the fact. Now, ultimately, what we want to accomplish here is to create kind of like a little bouquet. I think this one's going to be the one that I have in the center. And then what we want to do is we want to kind of join these so that all 3 of them are connected and that they have ample space between all 3. And we want this one just to be a little bit lower and kind of angled out. Okay, so kind of like that. And if it helps you, if it helps, what you can do is maybe just tape these 2 together. Maybe just a little bit of tape. Boy, it's windy out there. Just kind of tape these two together initially, maybe just with just a couple go-arounds with the tape, just to get them to play nice and give you a chance to really shape them the way that you want. Okay, I want this one to kind of come out a little bit. Okay, so there's the two, and then we'll grab the third one, and I'm going to fold that over this way a tiny bit. Just like that, roughly. Just got to play with it a little bit. I just think I just had a power surge. Hopefully my power doesn't go out here while I'm doing this because of all the wind. Okay, so you can see how we've got kind of a little threesome here of these beautiful little sweet peas. I need to adjust this. This is not playing very nice right now. There we go. Okay, and that looks about right. You want to keep the two on the side roughly about the same height. There could be a little bit of variation there. I mean, whatever looks good to you, I think is fine. Let me just wrap these three together now, just so that they stay for me, and then I can always kind of nudge and adjust things a little bit while they're partially wrapped. There's still going to be a little bit of give there, and then we'll do our final wrapping here in just a moment. This way it's just easier to work with these. Okay, so that looks, yeah, I'm going to say that looks pretty darn good. Okay. And then of course we're going to have to trim these at the bottom. And let's take a look and see what that looks like there. It might be, yeah, so the top of this is going to stick off a little bit. It's okay if this one kind of covers up a little bit of the chocolate. It's okay if this one hangs off a little bit. We're going to put a little bow down here. So if you're looking at the way that you have this arranged, and if it fits within all those little guidelines I just gave you, as far as this one sticking off a bit, this one hanging off a bit, I'd say you're in pretty good shape, and that you can go ahead and really wrap these up permanently with some additional floral tape. And there's going to be some variation. Everyone's going to be a little bit different, so don't worry about if yours didn't come out exactly like mine did. I don't know if that's even possible to replicate it exactly, so don't go crazy trying to do that. Okay, so that's a little more permanent now, and there's still plenty of time and plenty of flexibility to kind of move things around and shape them the way you want. Okay, now that I've got that all glued or taped together, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off to trim this bottom so that we don't have all this excess floral wire. Whoa. I'll trim that up real nice. Ow. There we go. And then you can certainly take a little more floral tape and clean up the bottom to make that look nice and finished. Okay, now remember we have 2 additional leaves as well, and what we're going to do with those is we're going to put those right here at the bottom where the 3 meet, just to kind of cover that up a little bit, just to make it look a little more natural. Let me squeeze that out a little bit. So just like we did the first time, I'm just going to take and how are these going to sit? These are going to sit like that. Okay, so you can see how we're going to do this. We're going to put those on like that, kind of like that. Let's throw our glue right on the base of this and pop one right about here. Okay, so you can see how that's starting to look. Again, there's certainly plenty of wiggle room here to even change the direction of any of these. You can see how I can make it go that way or this way. Even though they're all taped together, still plenty of wiggle room in there, so don't worry too much about the final resting place of each of your flowers, because we can absolutely go in and change that up. Okay, and then I'm going to take this other leaf here, do the same thing, just curl it back, give it a little bit of dimension. You could almost have it kind of curling over to one side. And I'm going to put that one about there. So let's throw some glue on here. Oops. And let's put this guy here. Well, you know what, maybe go a little bit higher with that one just to make it look a little more natural. There we go. And let's tape it down. Now ideally, I think the best thing to do with this would be to use some hot glue. And this little platform, this whole little thing here that we created is pretty flat. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, you also wanna make sure that, and we may need to trim this even more. You can see here, you wanna kind of keep the floral wire above the bottom of the box so it's not sticking off. So once you figure out exactly where you're going to place it, kind of figure out where you need to cut the additional floral wire. And I should probably have some better pliers for this, but this will work. So I was able to trim that, and I think I may need to trim it a little bit more. No, that's about right. And you can see that it's not going below the box. And we've got that in place. So I'm gonna hot glue that, and then what you probably want to do to cover that up at the bottom is just throw a little bow on that as well to finish it off, and you can see how pretty that looks. Aside from that, let me see if are there anything else that I'm missing here. No, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So I hope you guys enjoyed putting this together. The flower is a little bit different, but you know, just watch the video a few times, and I guess really the only thing that's well, maybe challenging is that first petal and just getting that little divot in there. But I think just with a little bit of practice and a little bit of patience, you can get it. And if you can't exactly get that little divot in there, just curl the petals back, and I think it's still gonna look great. And that's really it. So again, fill it up with some nice chocolates. I don't know of any mom that doesn't love chocolates, unless you're allergic to them. But obviously you can take out the little slice forms and put in whatever you want, and mom will enjoy it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That lets me know that you enjoy crafting with me. And while you're there, also hit that little bell so that you get all of our notifications for any of our assembly videos, freebies, or educational videos. And if you make this or anything from our new bundle, head on over to your Facebook and do a search for Dreaming Tree Group, where you can join myself and the almost 20,000, we're getting close to 20,000 now, members that inspire us daily. You can also visit by clicking on, or not clicking on, but visiting this link here that you see below me. So again, happy Mother's Day almost to all the beautiful and wonderful moms out there, and happy spring, and I look forward to crafting with you again.